Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934. It is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
Hey, don't forget my pimento cheese.
Of course. It's okay, I'll take it from here.
Hey, you forgot your seat!
For the love of Palmetto Cheese.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and for some of you out there, this is like Christmas in July. Why? Because Saints training camp starts tomorrow. That's right. They're having a little press conference event with Mickey Loomis, and then obviously the camp gets going, but let's start here. The eyeballs are going to be on two men in particular, and one of them you see right there, Dennis Allen, the new head coach, replaces longtime coach Sean Payton. How will the former defensive coordinator handle the pressure of being a head coach again for the second time of his career? And of course, Jameis Winston, in his third year in New Orleans, has no quarterback battle. He is given the reins. Andy Dalton's a backup, but we're going to talk all about that with one former quarterback who's coming back to the show, Bobby Hebert, who's with WWL Radio now, but has one of the best winning percentages in Saints history. He's coming on to talk about the whole Saints roster plus that quarterback position. And speaking of training camps, there's LSU. They start next Tuesday practice. That's Brian Kelly, the new head coach. A lot of eyeballs will be on him, replacing a national champion coach in Coach O. And, of course, the quarterback position as well. Miles Brennan or Jaden Daniels. Which one of these guys is going to get the reins? And speaking of LSU, preseason All-SEC, 4 players got on the preseason All-SEC team led by great wide receiver Kayshon Boutte. And, once again, LSU, you finally got it right. The greatest basketball player in my mind, as far as my idol, Pistol Pete Maravich, has finally got his statue. That was unveiled yesterday to go along with Shaquille O'Neal and, of course, the great Bob Pettit. And how about this? Antoine Duplantis was the all-time hits leader at LSU. But guess what? His brother topped that big time. His brother Mondo Duplantis, who also went to LSU, is competing for Sweden because that's where his mom's from. And at the World Track and Field Championships, he broke the world record again for the 6th time in pole vaulting, and the kid's basically 20 years old. Great show for you today. Stay tuned. Coming up next, Bobby Hebert, Jay Cicero, and Brooke Kirchhofer right here on Primetime Sports.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports, and I told you in the open how excited I am about this show, and I'm really excited about my next guest, and I know he was here a little over 2 months ago. That was the first show back with John Brady and Tim Floyd, and of course I speak of the founding father of the Who Dat Nation, the Cajun Cannon himself, Bobby Hebert. Back then we just told stories, but now with training camp starting tomorrow, we're going to talk Saints because we know Saints are what you love the most here in New Orleans as far as sports go. And here he is. What's up, my man?
All right, Scott.
My brother.
All excited football season finally.
It is finally here, man.
It's an old cliche, dog days of summer. but football is here. It doesn't feel like football weather. But you know what? They don't have to deal with the heat. They'll go inside of the heat.
Yeah, it ain't like the old days with you guys.
No, like Hammond. Coach Marr's first training camp in Hammond, Louisiana in Southeastern.
Your first time in the NFL?
Oh, no, that was the second time.
Okay.
Because Bum,
you were with Bum Phillips,
Bum,
right,
we had
right.
Louisiana Tech. Then we went to Southeastern.
How hot was Hammond?
It was so hot, you were just trying to survive practice.
Oh, my God.
I mean, I'm a quarterback going from 216 to 201.
Sweat.
Like Steve Cord, big lineman, they were losing 22 pounds in a practice.
Well, y'all did 2 a day.
And you had 2 a day, so
Yeah.
you do that twice a day.
There wasn't going inside to the indoor facility.
No, you
either.
couldn't go inside because you had a gym, and that's like a walkthrough. You're not getting anything accomplished.
Nothing.
So no, listen. I'm not like the old man, get off my lawn, kind of thing. Because I think they're doing it right. They train year round.
Right.
They don't need 2 a days.
Right.
They're ready to roll. Have one good long practice, and you're trying to accomplish something by actually going inside if there's lightning, and what you could see every day,
Yeah, right.
or the heat index. So you want to get something accomplished instead of just trying to survive practice.
Would you have rather played now with, less training camp, less sweat,
hell
and
yes.
a little more money?
Okay.
That was a rhetorical question.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if I just accomplish what I accomplish, and without even negotiating, I kind of figured it out. It'd be between 23 and 28 million. Because the market value,
That's
before
right.
you even
That's
start.
right, which you would be making. No,
yeah,
at
before
least.
you start negotiating.
Well, if I was your agent, I'd say, hey, by the way.
No, that's just before you start negotiating.
But yeah, other than Joe Montana during your era and Jim Kelly, you had the best winning percentage of any other quarterback, and that's a fact.
Yeah, that's not an opinion. That's a fact, Jack. But before you start negotiating, it's just the market. Look at Kyler Murray, what they're paying him. And if Jameis Winston wants to get paid, all you got to do is produce. Be a winning quarterback on a winning team, and you'll get compensated. If the Saints don't compensate Jameis Winston against supply and demand, somebody else will. But I think the Saints would take care of him if he had success.
Well, you gave me the perfect segue because I told you we're going to talk Saints, and that's the guy I want to start with because I think he will be the straw that stirs the drink. Last year, he got hurt after the 7th game, and he had a 5-2 record, but he didn't have any weapons. I mean, their number 1 receiver would be a number 3 or 4 on most teams. Now you got 3 guys that could legitimately, if Chris Olave, pans out like they think, could be number 1 types, right?
Right.
So what is your whole take on Jameis Winston, the quarterback?
Well, it's a great opportunity for him. You got to take advantage of your situation. If you truly want to get paid, like I said, he has to produce. And but I am so confident in what the Saints have done in the quarterback meeting room. And he said, oh, well, you don't have Sean Payton. I'm telling you, Pete Carmichael is so cerebral, how he'll deal with them. Well, that was a big word.
Cerebral.
Yeah, and how he'll deal with Jameis or Andy Dalton. I think we have top 3 backup quarterback in the NFL. Watching Andy Dalton in the OTAs and minicamp, it's like he's been here 5 or 6 years.
So good.
So I was talking with Mike Triplett, with ESPN about this. I think whether we have Andy Dalton or we have Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton, the Saints should win 10 games. I think the team is that good.
Oh, I think at least
that. I don't know how much patience they can have with Jameis. You never know about his knee. I think he's going to be ready to roll. But the bottom line is, given the opportunity, I think Andy Dalton could be successful with this team.
I'm going to ask you this because Andy Dalton was wearing 5 there. Now he switched with Ingram.
14, right?
Ingram is switching from 14 to 5 because Dalton's at 14, and Ingram, that was a 1-year thing for him anyway. But moving forward, I want to remind people of something. Jameis Winston was the number 1 recruit coming out of high school. Jameis Winston won a national championship. Jameis Winston was the Heisman Trophy winner. Jameis Winston was the first overall pick in the NFL draft. He went to a bad team. And I know that, he was immature and did some things, but now he's with a winning franchise, and he got to be with Sean Payton for 2 years and Drew Brees for 1. And you see him with Drew right there when he was with Tampa. But what as a quarterback, and you're the best person to ask this, because we all have problems in our life where we maybe have done some things we regret.
Immature, yeah.
And you grow up, right?
Right.
This kid's only 28 still, right?
Yeah.
So what is your take on the maturity process? Because that, to me, might be as important as anything else when you talk about the Jameis Winston story this year.
Well, it's all about playing the position. You have to be able to communicate to people and to be that leader. You can't be an introvert. You have to be an extrovert, and you got to want to lead people.
Well, he tries to eat wins, remember?
I don't know if you need to do that, but
Yeah,
I guess
it's silly.
But social media and all that might be a good thing. All I know is if you win, that covers a lot of things, whether you're doing the W or not. So.
And he started eating his fingers.
Yeah, but I mean it's all fun, but just being the leader that the team needs you to be, and they want to follow you. I think from that aspect, he has matured and he knows the task at hand. And I think he's up to the challenge. Now, I think his knees could be all right. And people think, he got to throw the ball left and right all over. He was playing winning football, even though people want him, take the reins off of him, let him to be more explosive. But then he might make more mistakes then.
Right.
The bottom line is, are you winning or losing the game? One of the greatest games last year, and a lot of people, they're not entertained from a national perspective. We beat Tampa Bay 9-0.
Right.
What is this, a 1960s?
What?
Sunday night football. Think about that.
That was unbelievable.
And all of a sudden, Dennis Allen is coaching. Look what he did with the defense. Pete Carmichael managing the game is to win. You want to win the game, and so and look, CD Deuce, all up in Tom Brady's face.
Yeah, that was my.
Tom Brady does not want to play the Saints.
No, he doesn't. No,
we get after him.
Even
the
game they
rush.
won, that playoff game, because he's 0-4 against the Saints when he was with Tampa in the regular season. Even the playoff game, we both know. We both were in the press box. I mean, that game, the Saints have fumbled by.
Right.
If that doesn't happen, he's 0-5. But moving forward,
I think he ended up. We played him 6. I want to say we're 1-5. Or 5-1. I'm gonna take it 5-1. We won.
That means we'd have to play him in the playoffs twice, which I don't think we did. But
I don't know. And anyway, he's only beaten us one time in the playoffs. We beat him in the regular season. And I don't know, realistically, if we could sweep him, but just split with him again.
Right.
And no, we in Tom Brady's head. The two teams that are in Tom Brady's head.
There's no splitting again. We beat him twice each year.
Well, I'm going to be objective. Yeah.
All right.
The two teams that Tom Brady does not want to face and have had trouble with, you always have that, is the Seattle Seahawks and the Saints.
Right.
He has not had success overall. We in his head. So,
although he did get a Super Bowl win over the Seattle Seahawks, but
but I'm saying overall, as far as he's dominated all of the franchises,
no question
but
about
not when you look at the regular season and total how everything is.
Now, I had a debate the other day. Is he the GOAT or are you the GOAT?
Who's the GOAT? You mean me or Tom Brady? What?
Come on, man. I know you have a brother.
Well, I'm old school. Joe Montana's the GOAT. Oh, what? Hello.
Hello. That's what I always say.
No, I don't know. To me, it depends what era you grew up in, what generation. I mean, Slinging Sammy Ball, or you go like Johnny Unitas, Joe Montana.
Right.
Well, now it's Tom Brady. 21st century, it ain't even close. Tom Brady by far.
No,
and I love Drew Brees and everybody else.
We all know.
Peyton Manning, but come on. If you're hating on Tom Brady, just hating.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think he just finally silenced everybody. Right. I mean, because there was a while like, hey, Peyton Manning and Drew Brees. Yeah. Hey, let's talk about this team real quick. So I don't want to get done with the offense. New coach who's been a head coach in 2 different teams, Doug Marrone, has a reworked offensive line. I just saw a thing yesterday where Teron Armstead was ranked 2nd among all 32 starting left tackles. Now he's doing it for the Miami Dolphins and not the New Orleans Saints. And we know the main reason was he wasn't always healthy, so you can't pay that kind of money. But this reworked line, you got Andres Pete, who was hurt most of last season. Cesar Ruiz, who hasn't really lived up to the first-round pick that he was.
Expectations, yeah.
You know, and obviously you have McCoy at center, and then Ryan Ramczyk has more than lived up to his expectations. How important is it for this offensive line to gel for Jameis Winston and the rest of the offense?
Well, if they gel, then the offense is going to gel. If they're struggling, whether it be injuries or because I truly believe McCoy took a step back playing alongside Ruiz. So, I don't know, Throgmorton, they all have a chance. I think, you know who's back? I always call him Clemente. He's back.
Senio Clemente.
Yes.
The best 6 man in offense.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, it's going to be wide open. It's all about getting the production. But the quarterback's best friend, I don't care if we got all those receivers. You know what we got to do? And we've been successful. Look at our top offenses. We've always look at our passing game, but we've always been able to run the ball.
Right.
Last year, we sucked. Last year, we averaged 3.7 yards a carry. 3.7 yards a carry. We were like 27, 28 in the league.
Kamara missed 5 games, and in the games he played, the offensive line was decimated. So I'm making an excuse because that was a valid thing. And you had, I mean, poor Ian Book, the game he started, he's running for his life. That's what I'm saying. You can't afford, wholesale injuries at any position.
You can't have that much bad luck. Now it's football. You can have injuries.
But the most in NFL history. That's not happening again.
And I think that hindered the Ravens like the Saints because of injuries. You got to have luck with injuries.
Okay, we saw Penning a second ago.
Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning needs to step up. I don't know if he'd be willing or able to step up from the beginning.
First round pick.
Yeah, first round pick.
Right.
But you would expect him that he'd have an opportunity, let's say, after the first month. Mm-hmm. And that's why you have a veteran Hurst instead of him. But it's going to be a lot of responsibility for him. I don't think. Come on, if he could just be half of Teron Armstead with Armstead on the field, we'd be doing.
And playoffs.
And I'm kind of spoiled too. Our offensive line, to me, isn't as dominant. We were unbelievable in the interior with Carl Nicks and Jari Evans. They're in the conversation of best duo guards in NFL history.
I agree.
So when you say Andres Pete and Ruiz, and then and we always had great centers.
Right.
So like if you put McCoy between Jari Evans and Carl Nicks.
Oh my! Forget about it.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm kind of spoiled, and you take that for granted. But it's going to start up front, and we don't know what's going to happen with Kamara. With the suspension. Hopefully, you know what I hope for. And I said this on the radio last night. August 1st, they're going to address where Kamara's at. You know, the lawyers and all meet. I hope it gets postponed again.
Yeah.
Like say till November.
A little continuance.
Continuance. Because you know what that means? That he might not get suspended till 2023. I'm not worried about 2023.
Right.
I want him now available for every game now.
It's like our salary cap. Let's not worry about it now. Push it back. Come on, let's go. Forget about it.
Because he will get suspended. He's on camera. What happened, I don't know, 6-8 games, whatever, because of collective bargaining, he will get suspended.
Right.
But push that back to 2023. Have him for the whole season this year.
Well, we mentioned him. Let's mention the other guy that has been missing and a superstar, the former NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Michael Thomas. Now, I know you played with some great receivers. Anthony Carter was great when you were in the USFL. Mark Duper in college.
Andre Rison.
I was about to say, you're taking it right off my lips. Andre Rison and the great Eric Martin when you're here with the Saints.
Right.
But the Saints right now, how great would it be if you were quarterback and you saw the different kind of receivers? You got Michael Thomas in that picture right there flexing. You have Chris Olave, who is moved up to get him. Finally, you have a speed guy to go with them. And then you got the reliable veteran, Jarvis Landry, who has NFL records for most catches in the NFL history after 3 seasons and 4 seasons.
Yes, think about this. Everyone looks at the flashy Odell Beckham, and he had a chance to be most valuable player in the Super Bowl, but then he got hurt.
Right.
Who's been the better pro, Jarvis Landry or Odell Beckham?
Most consistent.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
It's been Jarvis Landry.
Right.
So you can't double team everyone. And I don't know, Michael Thomas, he doesn't even have to be NFL Offensive Player of the Year. You don't have to break records, receptions. I think it could come about. If you look in the career, it would be like 100 catches,
right,
1,200 yards. Jarvis have like 80 to 85 catches.
There we go.
And about 900 yards, or right around 1,000, right? Okay. And then Chris Olave, you know what he needs to do? Average per reception like Devin Henderson. How about averaging, I'm not even going to say 18 and a half, just like 15 and a half, 16 and a half, and have like 50 catches.
Right.
And then could have, you can have 600 yards, but you averaging like 16 and a half yards a reception. And then they can't double team everyone. That's when I think they all contributing, and that's a fine art to that, because everybody wants the ball, everybody's open.
It's a fine art.
How Jameis and the quarterbacks can handle, because they all be bitching, man. Why don't you throw me the ball?
Right.
And stuff. And then you got to go sometimes and sit down and watch the film with them and say, well, show them where you open.
Yeah, right.
Now, if you covered, and I throw a contested ball. Okay, it's a 50-50 ball. Do you make me look good, or it's an interception?
There it is.
You make me look good, kind of almost like when Drew Brees would force the ball to Jimmy Graham.
Right.
They're down the middle. What? He wasn't open.
What?
Drew Brees trusted him and making those plays. That's what you want to get with a receiver if you want to have the ball thrown to you even though you covered.
Speaking of tight ends.
Yeah.
When I say Saints tight end, right now, what do you think about?
That the jury's still out, obviously. I don't know, Troutman. I mean, are they going to give him still an opportunity?
Taysom Hill. Lucas Krull, the undrafted free agent.
The rookie out of Pitt. He's going to have opportunity. I have to wait and see what they're going to do. I still don't know about the tight end. I think Taysom, though, is going to, instead of getting like a dozen plays, if we have 65 plays, that's usually the average, I could see Taysom being in at least on half of those every game.
All right. I got to go because we got to have
Yeah.
defense right now. Obviously, top 5 last year. You lost 3 really good players, well, at least 2 in the secondary.
Right.
The free safety and the Marcus Williams, and of course retirement
Malcolm
of Malcolm Jenkins. You brought in 2 veterans. When you think of this defense, what is your take on how you think they're going to do this season?
Well, they have to be as good as they were last year, and our special teams too. Because I think how your team is structured, you're not going to be good offense, defense, special in all phases. It's very seldom. You can be good 2 out of the 3, and I think our defense and our special teams where they're at. I think our cornerback position,
yes,
in the history of the Saints,
the best
is the best ever.
The best it's been.
I agree. And look, and I looked not too long ago, even when we had Jack Rabbit and all that. But I look at Lattimore, Paulson Adebo. You look at Roby. I'm not even going at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, C.D. Deuce. You can go on. And now you add in a playmaker like a Honey Badger, Tyrann Matthew.
That's the thing.
And then Marcus May, if not, again, health-wise.
Marcus may be good and may not.
If he's healthy. But to me, even though we lost Marcus Williams to the Ravens, Marcus May is a lot cheaper.
They're basically
and
it allows you to pay a guy like Marcus Davenport, who, by the way, when healthy, I think could be the most destructive defensive end in the league. That's how good his potential is, but the key word is
health. Healthy. I was like, that's one thing. He's hell when he's well.
He's hell when he's well.
Yeah.
The best abilities available.
Yes, come on. Well, the power, speed, the power, the speed. Davenport's unbelievable.
Well, I got to mention Cam Jordan before we go, because Cam Jordan has been the most consistent player, perhaps in the history of the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, without a doubt.
Really? Without a doubt.
Talking about answering the bell.
One of my favorite Saints of all time right there.
Because he's always answered the bell. He's played up until recent 90-something% of the snaps.
Like
how they always rotate the defensive line? No.
I think he gets taken for granted sometimes.
Cam Jordan gets the most out of his ability. If Cam Jordan had Marcus Davenport's ability, he'd be outlawed. They couldn't let him play. Because Cam will even tell you how it's like that Marcus Davenport, I think, doesn't even realize how good he is. Not only he had to get his finger cut off, with that infection. And then now with his shoulder. No, again, we need him available.
Is a thinner Cam Jordan going to be as effective as the huskier Cam Jordan?
Well, I'll have to wait and see. The jury's still out on that again.
The jury's out.
The jury's out because what does he do in first down? Because the one thing they don't want to run against Cam Jordan. Everybody looks at the sacks and the pressures.
No.
Okay, you're in first down and they're not running at you.
That's big.
Because if they're running at him and it's now 2nd and 5,
right?
No, I don't want that. I want it like 2nd and 9. Then it don't matter what Cam weighs. If they're
Bobby, I love you. We're going 10, 11 wins. What are you thinking?
10.
10 I'm going 11. I'm going 11.
11. Okay, I would say 10. I would definitely take the over. You know where that started out? What is the national people think?
7.5.
Yeah, 7.5.
8.5.
Yeah, it went 7.5, 8, 8.5. I still 9 to me. Vegas. That would be the right number.
Settling in at 9.
Oh yeah, that'd be the right number.
You came to the first show back.
Right
after COVID, and you've been at least 3 times before COVID, but I didn't have my shirts from Task yet.
Oh.
So I'm bringing you 2, and thankful that you're back. Bobby came back just to talk Saints this time, where before we just had some fun, and I might have hooked on something. Anyway, they're all together.
Yeah, and to show you how
Task before,
to show you, yes, they're so soft. To show you how nice Scott is, he gave me an XL and a double XL.
Just in case you get husky in the winter.
Yeah, I've lost some weight. I'm trying to get back to my quarterback playing days, but
like bears, you hibernate and you get a little bigger.
Unless I slip up, I got the 2X, and if I'm getting back to form, I got the XL.
I'm here for y'all with body types.
That's right.
Whatever your body. Hey, by the way, and there's a nice gift certificate to Shays De La Shays.
Yes.
You can go to De La Shays on St. Charles, Shays De La Shays on Maple with that. Bring JoJo, you beautiful wife.
No, I definitely will. That'd be like date night.
You're the best, boy.
All right, thanks, Scott.
Bobby Hebert,
right.
one of the most beloved guys in the history of the city. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, there's
I was like the wayward son. I mean, I went away, but I came back home.
Yeah, but he came back.
Yeah, right.
You did. You did go to. I went to Atlanta too. At least I didn't play for the Falcons. I mean, goodness gracious. No,
Mercenary hard gun.
We appreciate you, man. And listen, when I talk quarterbacks in this franchise, there's 3. I mean, that's it. Drew Brees, Archie Manning, and this guy right here. And I'm very thankful for his friendship and for coming back on the show to talk about what you love most, the New Orleans Saints. Hey, we're going to talk a little more about the Saints because training camp does start tomorrow with Brooke Kirchhofer from WLAE-TV. She's only been in New Orleans for a year, but she was in Baton Rouge for a couple covering the Saints as well. She's going to be next. And then don't forget Jay Cicero, who is the CEO and president of the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation, who brings all the big sporting events here. He's the main reason with his crew over there. So that's coming up next, right here on Primetime Sports.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At the mid-city lanes, the home of rock and roll.
The owners of the Delachey's Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachey, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachey, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Frenchie's Art Gallery, located on historic Oak Street beside the Maple Leaf Bar. With over 3,000 square feet of space, it features a large gallery front room and Frenchie's personal art studio. Frenchie's Art Gallery is also connected to the Maple Leaf Courtyard, which is ideal for the New Orleans night scene. Frenchie's Art Gallery, 8314 Oak Street. Yeah, you're right.
Hey, welcome back, and I want to thank the Cajun Cannon. What a great Saints segment right there. We're going to talk a little more Saints with my next guest, but we're going to get into her life and where she came from. Her name is Brooke Kirchhofer. I always mix that up. At WLAE-TV, she's been here about a year, 2 years, but you always see her talking about Saints, LSU. She's always doing the reporting and anchoring over there at WWL with Doug Mouton and Ricardo LeCompte. And here she is for the first time. How are you?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you?
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
So I want to get your story. This is your first time here, and you're from Texas, right?
So raised in north of Houston, Texas,
Yeah.
Born south of Philadelphia.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Born south of Philadelphia.
Was only there for about 4 years.
Right on.
So I'm definitely a Texan at heart. Grew up
Humble,
in Houston.
Texas?
Humble, Texas, and you said it right. Not Humble, Texas, Humble,
I
Texas.
know people from Humble. They don't like the H pronounced, right?
Absolutely.
Right? So what'd you do after that? College? What'd you do?
Went and played soccer at Lamar University, got my broadcast journalism degree there, and then hopped over to Georgia for my first job in Columbus, Georgia.
Columbus,
a little bit
Georgia. I know.
rival territory covering Georgia, Alabama, and
No doubt.
Auburn, then Baton Rouge for 2 years, and now I've been here in New Orleans for a year.
Okay, so you knew if you did broadcast journalism, when did you know you wanted to be a TV reporter and anchor and all that?
Honestly, when I was in high school is when I made the decision that, okay, soccer might not be the outlook past college as far as women's soccer at the time isn't what it is now.
Right.
And I knew I wanted to stay in sports.
Right.
And growing up in our house, my dad would always come home from work and say, is there a ball on the TV? Well, you better find it. So we always had sports on.
I love your dad.
Yes.
All right.
So that really grew my passion for sports. And I thought, I'd like to do this and tell the athlete side of the story.
Nice. Did you, when you grew up, soccer, obviously you play college soccer, you
Yeah.
got to be great. Did you play other sports?
I played a little bit of golf, some basketball in middle school, but soccer was definitely the main sport.
Who are your first soccer heroes? I mean, as a girl, because I'm trying to think your era.
Yes.
And I remember like the 90s, Brandy Chastain started getting
all of
big.
them.
Okay, so that team, that group right there?
Well, if you saw pictures of me when I was younger, always had the number 9 jersey. So Mia Hamm was
Mia
my
Hamm.
go-to.
That's what I was getting to.
Loved watching her play. I mean, to be able to watch that as a young girl, that's when women's soccer just exploded in the U.S.
Right.
So
one of the greatest athletes, I think.
Absolutely.
Female athletes for sure, but any athlete that we've had in the United States, in my opinion.
Oh, I would agree with you. It was so much fun watching that group.
So you went from Georgia to Baton Rouge. How were the 2 years in Baton Rouge, and had you been immersed at LSU at all before then?
Not at all. So I grew up watching a little bit of LSU baseball. I mean, growing up in Texas, you at least knew about Palmetto and what he was doing over there in Baton Rouge. But outside of that, Les Miles was really the only one I could tell you as far as LSU football went. Especially when you're playing soccer in college. I was just getting into the sports reporting and things like that. But it was a really fun time in Baton Rouge, and I was actually the Saints insider for our station. So I spent a lot of time in New Orleans for 2 years.
So what precipitated the move here? I know that, Andrew Doak left. I don't know if that's the guy you replaced.
Yep.
But how did that work for you to come down to New Orleans?
Absolutely. I actually had a really good relationship with him. He
great guy.
Great guy, really great at his job. Unfortunately, he's not in the business anymore, went a different route.
I know.
I knew Doug Mouton, and he and I met actually in Seattle when the Saints went up there and won, I believe that was 2019.
Yeah, the year Bridgewater started, right?
Yes.
Right.
And Deontay Harris ran it back for a touchdown, kick-started the game.
Look at you.
Yeah, I mean, and I knew that I wanted to cover the Saints. I was just so tired of driving back to Baton Rouge. I was like, man, I wish I could stay here in New Orleans every time I covered a Saints game or a practice.
That's what I was like when I moved back to Atlanta. I come home like, why am I not home?
I know. And so I really wanted to get here and truthfully cover the Pelicans as well. I wanted to do more of that full time too.
Okay, so you've been here, I've said a year or two. When did you get here?
I got here right after the hurricane hit.
Oh, so you've been.
Perfect timing.
Bobby and I were at WWL and camping out over there at the radio station. All right, so your year here, New Orleanians love you to love us. So what's been your experience? I did hijack your Instagram page and put some of your shots when you're around the city, and it's apparent you really love the city. You can tell. So well, give us your experience for your first year.
It's really a city that if you love it, it'll love you back.
100%.
And it's been so welcoming. I remember my first Saints game was the Cowboys.
You run around town.
Saints tailgate. Oh yeah, very much enjoying Mardi Gras for the first time. It was a great time inviting friends and family in. It was their first time experiencing it too. But my very first Saints tailgate was the Cowboys game, and they welcome you in like your family. They're like, come in here, get all this food. I didn't know what a crawfish pie was.
Oh my, okay.
So that was an experience trying some of the food, but it's been great since.
Do you eat boiled crawfish?
Absolutely.
You love boiled crawfish?
Oh yes.
All right.
Oh, I'm fully immersed now.
Oh, you're in. I know. I craved crawfish when I was out of town.
It needs to be year-round, but.
No doubt.
Right.
Thank you. Well, it is more year-round than it used to be. As a kid, it was like maybe late February to mid-May, and they keep expanding it. We'll see. So let's talk about the teams. What's the team you have the most fun covering?
Man, that's a hard question. I really do enjoy all of them. Of course, the Pelicans really had a fun postseason run this year.
How great was that?
We were actually in Vegas for the NFL draft with our computer up of the game, and we were ready to cancel flights and drive over to Phoenix and cover Game 7 if that would have been the case. But
Bobby and I were actually at those games together.
Wow.
A lot of fun. Yeah. So yeah, the Pelicans, you're perfect person to ask, because the beginning of the season, obviously the hard start. Zion wasn't playing. You didn't know when he was coming back, and he never did. But there were people saying the franchise should go to Seattle or move on, but now this is like the franchise just 5-6 months later after that run in the playoffs and the emergence of Ingram and the rest of the team. Now they're the darling franchise. I mean, so in that stretch, what has been your opinion?
I think it was more of the national perspective that really saw that for sure. The Pelicans were going to move. That was never the case, I felt like. That was never the temperature here in New Orleans.
Wasn't never the real deal.
People loved the Pelicans being here, and that C.J. McCollum, Larry Nance Jr. trade really just changed everything. You can't help but notice the amount of injuries that the Pelicans had throughout the year. So without that trade, I don't even think the postseason is a possibility.
No, not at all. Wow.
So you bring them in. Brandon Ingram is now healthy going into the year. He did have a little bit of a splint on his hand the last time we saw him, but he'll be ready to go by the season. Zion Williamson coming back, full healthy.
Amen.
Just you look at that lineup, and it's hard to not see them going in the postseason.
I mean,
again.
I can't wait. Saints are coming up. Training camp starts tomorrow. I guess today Mickey Loomis will be speaking tonight. So, what is your outlook on this team? Because last season, the training camp battles, you saw that they were much less deep than they had been in the previous year. Now it seems like it was a couple of years ago, where it's very few rookie free agents and those types are going to make the team. So, what's your outlook on this season?
I think we'll have a better picture after week 1. And I say that because there's a lot of guys we haven't seen back with the team yet.
Sure.
As far as injuries. What does Michael Thomas look like? Of course, he's on the PUP list, but with it being training camp, he can come back at any time. So I'll be curious to see what he looks like bouncing around the field once he's able to get on the field. Jameis Winston, does he still have a little bit of a limp? We didn't see it in those videos he posted when he was in Miami.
Yep.
How does he look with the group? But then you add in all of these free agents, Tyrann Mathieu, Jarvis Landry. You have a great draft.
Yeah.
How can you not be excited going into this year? And I think if the Saints can stay healthy, this could be an interesting year for
It really is, and the
Orleans.
national people really don't see, because listen, the 9-8 last season to me was a miracle considering the injuries.
Absolutely.
And I talked about this last week with Mike Haas, but you know, I guess when you're outside looking in, the games that were on TV, you mentioned the Cowboys game and the Bills game around Thanksgiving that era, you know, and the Dolphins. Those national games were duds for the Saints, right? So I guess that's what they saw. But do you see playoffs into this team's future?
I think if they can figure out the offensive line and stay healthy, and they keep Jameis Winston clean, I absolutely think they can at least get a wild card or a playoff win.
I think you know, we all know that since Brady's been at Tampa in the regular season, the Saints are 4-0. They've shut him out once, and you know, I think they got 3 points another game. So I mean, I think even winning the division is a possibility. Talked to Bobby earlier about Jameis Winston. And I personally think this is his year. I know last year 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 5-2 record before he got hurt. He's been with the franchise now 3 years. What's your take? Is he the watermark on whether this team is going to be good or not? I
think now it is really his team, and we mentioned the Miami videos of him working out with the team.
There's rehabbing there.
Him bringing the tight ends, running backs, wide receivers all together in Miami, and he put on, you know, a film study, a clinic with them, and you see the leadership with him, that this is his team. And I think you have to give him a little bit of credit last year, of course, obviously with the ACL tear, but it never truly felt like it was his team yet. It didn't seem like Sean Payton had really loosened the reins on him yet. I feel like this year, if you just let him go out there and be himself, he can really thrive in this offense. I mean, look at the wide receivers he's got to throw to now. And barring a suspension, you've got Alvin Kamara in there as well. I mean, it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be exciting. I'm going to say this, is like he finally, last year at this time, you know, he was supposed to be in a battle with Taysom Hill.
Right.
And it makes a difference when you're given the reins early. I need to talk about the LSU Tigers, because that's a new coach. You were there for 2 years. You saw, I guess one of those was great, one maybe not so great.
Yes.
What do you think the future is for this squad?
Well, I really liked what we heard from Brian Kelly at SEC Media Days. It seems like he's bringing a whole lot of structure from Notre Dame and the things that he's doing. We've already seen him thrive in the transfer portal, and for the class of 2023 and 2024, he's already bringing in 4 5-star guys. My biggest question, though, is how do you handle the quarterback situation? Do you go with a Miles Brennan that's maybe more of a safe choice, or do you take a risk with Jaden Daniels, the transfer from Arizona, or Garrett Nussmeier, a young guy who he said at SEC Media Days, man. He said he's an exciting player to watch. Of course, he's maybe one you got to rein in a little bit more, but I think once he figures out that situation at quarterback, you bring in so much veterans on the defensive side of the ball. You also bring in a lot of transfers that are 3rd, 4-year guys that know what they're doing, have SEC experience. I think Brian Kelly could have more success in his first year than people think.
Jaden Daniels, I was on a Fox crew when I traveled doing college football with the Arizona State guy, and last year this guy was a Heisman candidate going into the season. I mean, he had an okay season. 2019 or 20 was much better, but the fact is Miles Brennan is the 6th year, and by the way, he's going to marry into Bobby's family, if you didn't know. But Miles Brennan, if he doesn't get the job off the bat, I'll feel so bad for this kid, because he could have gone to so many places. What does your gut tell you for the quarterback spot coming in game 1?
I wouldn't be surprised that if Miles Brennan did start, but if things don't work out for him, I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Kelly was quick to pull the trigger and put in.
I think on
Jaden
either
Daniels.
one, whoever.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
It is going to be a serious showcase for that Florida State game right down the road here. If they're not performing in that game, Brian Kelly's going to have no problem switching out quarterbacks.
And you know, he might give them both a run anyway. It's so exciting because I live 2 blocks from that dome, and I usually do games. I don't get to go to LSU games, got my own, but I have a Friday game. I'm going to be there. As far as the outlook for in the SEC, they're picked 5th in the West, right? The West is stacked, we know. I mean, some people even saying they could finish last in the West.
Right.
I don't buy into that. I know LSU's got a lot of talent. Do you think they're going to be in the upper echelon or kind of in the middle? What are you thinking?
I think the preseason pick is probably fair. There's a lot of question marks around this team, too. The biggest, Keishawn Butte, who's expected to come back. When you find out that
He's
guy
phenomenal.
is coming back, right. I mean, that is a generational talent when he's healthy. And so if you add him into the offense, it's some of these younger wide receivers that we know are from the area, have had success in high school and state championships, things like that. I think this team could end up competing, but you can't put it all on Keishawn Butte.
I'm glad you brought him up, though, because I think for some people he's a little bit forgotten, certainly
Right.
nationally, but he was leading the country in
They'll know
touchdowns.
who he is when the season starts, that's for sure.
No doubt. He had 9 touchdowns in 5.5 games, really, and then he got hurt. You're right. That was a big deal when he came back. We talked about Pelicans. Any other sport you did? You watched Zurich. You went there.
Absolutely.
Was that your first time?
That was my second time, and my dad's actually in the golf business, so I've got
wow.
my heartstrings pulled towards golf a lot, and that was just a lot of fun watching it and being able to cover it again. Living in New Orleans, not having to drive from Baton Rouge all the way out to TPC, Louisiana every day.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to see it, and too, did not realize. Of course, it was COVID year last year. They packed that place.
It's
I mean,
fun.
there are so many fans that go out there to watch golf, which I think could be something big for New Orleans in the future,
It's
too.
one of my favorite events, and it's so well put on. Steve Worthy's done a great
Oh,
job
he
with
has,
that.
absolutely.
And it's great. It's been great having you. And
thank
by the
you.
way, she knows her sports. It's obvious there. Hey, we have a thing. We've been doing this for about 6 years. We're task performance. A guy from New Orleans started, a Tulane
Thank you.
Former basketball player, Al Andrews. How soft is that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I've seen Sean Payton and Drew Brees wear a few
there
of
it
these
is.
at
I'm the one that
practice.
always says that, but that's why I first started wearing it like 9
Okay.
years ago. And this is just a little gift certificate to Shays de la Shays
Oh,
on
thank
Maple
you.
Street.
Okay.
And go enjoy. Trust me, you'll love it. A
Absolutely.
little wine place. I got different. You want Saints ball? You want to sign LSU ball? This is a tradition we have. Or we want to
It's
sign
all
that?
you. You pick.
We'll go Tigers.
Okay.
We'll go Tigers. Here you go. Well, this one might be tough to find some room. Maybe over there. But thank you,
this
Brooke.
one.
We do appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see you at training camp.
Yes. Can't wait to finally, football is back.
And so this would be your first full one living here, right, though?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. You going to be there every day?
We hope so. We do have some off days sprinkled in there, but I'll be out there for the most part.
The weather is the whole thing, man.
Yes.
I hope it's not too
Get
hot.
ready.
Well, that's Brooke Kirchhofer. Did I get that right? Kirchhofer. Coming up next, though, we have Jay Cicero. Jay Cicero is the head of the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation. The reason that we have Super Bowls coming to New Orleans, Final Fours, SEC tournaments, and, of course, national championships. He's coming up next right here on Primetime Sports.
Sundays at 6:30 p.m.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, my next guest is one of the guys that you probably might not know personally or see him on TV all the time, but he's the reason with his group, the New Orleans Sports Foundation, the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation, that things like the Super Bowl, the Final Four, the national championships, and so much more are here. And I've been wanting to get him on this show for at least 3 years. But here he is now, Jay Cicero, the president, CEO of the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Sorry to keep you waiting for 3 years.
I mean, 3 full years. Well, COVID helped with that situation.
True.
But real quick, I want to start real quick because I mean, everybody looks at certain jobs and they're like, how the heck can I get to that place? Like, I remember I was always wanted to kind of be a sports agent. I finally made the, but I never really knew how to get there. And I know it's different for everybody, but if there's a kid out there watching, say, and he wanted to join something like this and eventually run it, what would be his advice for him?
Get your foot in the door and do everything you can to impress your seniors that are going to be making decisions or recommending you for other positions. And so, that's basically what I did. And there's a lot of right place, right time.
Yeah.
Some people say you create your own luck, but you have to have a little luck to get to in position to be able to prove yourself. And I started in 1986 with the Shreveport Captains,
minor league team
of the WLAE team of the San Francisco Giants.
Mm-hmm.
I had a wonderful owner atmosphere, brand new stadium.
Did Will Clark ever play where you were there?
He skipped us. He went
That's
from
right.
single
He
A
went
to the big leagues.
Big leagues, okay.
And then a cup of coffee in Triple A, and then went back up to the big leagues and was permanent.
And he hit a home run in his first game against Nolan Ryan.
But everybody, that's right, and everybody that he played with was there on the team my first year, 1986.
Right.
So I think they had won the Cal League championship Clinton, I think, or something like that. And
Clinton, Louisiana?
No.
What was Clinton?
It was out in California. It was the where they came from,
Right
where the single A team. I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Well, how'd you get down to New Orleans? I mean,
well, you know, I worked for 5 years with the ball team in Shreveport. Had a great experience, but I'd gone as far as I could go.
Right.
And I ended up coming to New Orleans and working for WWL Radio.
Interesting. All right.
Selling
I think
sports.
we all done there at some point.
Selling sports for them, and was volunteering my time with Mike Millay at the New Orleans Sports Foundation.
Volunteering is the way you get in. I mean, everybody thinks, hey, I'm going to jump in and get a salary. You start volunteering and show yourself, that seems like to be the
And so being able to be there and to go through the experience of bidding upon the Olympic track and field trials at the time. This was 1990.
Right, for the 92.
The 92 trials.
Right.
And the day we were awarded the Olympic trials, December 5th, 1990, was the day I was hired at the Sports Foundation.
And you've been ever since?
Well, I stayed there for 3 years.
Right.
We did the Olympic trials. We did the men's Final Four in '93.
Right.
And around the time of the men's Final Four, the Zephyrs were moving from Denver.
That's right.
They were the Denver Zephyrs.
Right.
Everybody thinks we named them after the old ride
at Pontchartrain Beach.
Didn't. It was the Denver Zephyrs.
No.
We started at the University of New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I was hired as the first general manager in 1993. It's almost 30 years ago now.
And Cookie was the last one.
And Cookie was the last one,
Right.
But started with Jay and ended up with Cookie. But so I was there for 2 years. Really got the franchise established. Working with Ron Maestri out at UNO,
Legend.
and a legend,
Right on.
and we just had, it was an incredible 2 years. You could write a book about everything that happened.
I bet that was
just
fun.
for those 2 years. It had its challenges.
What's the craziest story?
Lights going out one
During
night.
a game?
During a game, lightning strike over right field. During a rain delay, lights go out Saturday night.
Big crowd.
Well, we had a decent crowd. It's open. There's no place to hide out there, so
right on.
so they left. The next morning, we come in around 11 a.m. and there's no electricity at the ballpark at all, except for the scoreboard and lights.
Those
No
are the ones
scoreboard, but the lights.
The lights,
That's
right.
it. No PA, no restrooms, no ticket office, no merchandise, no
And this is
concessions.
This is pre-Shrine on Airline. Y'all.
Oh yeah, it was at UNO.
Right on.
And so, we're scrambling, and we can't find. We called UNO, and they send people out. They can't figure out what the problem is. We get in touch with then Sheriff Fody, who was the
Sheriff Fody. I hadn't heard that name in a while.
He was the sheriff here.
Well,
they
for like
bring
a-
out.
like a half
He
century.
lends us a bunch of generators. Those big generators with lights, and we're plugging in everything, but it's inadequate. There's no air conditioning in the press box. There's nothing.
Nothing.
No broadcast. You can't broadcast radio. Anything. Nothing can happen. So we play a doubleheader because we canceled the game before. We play a doubleheader with no electricity.
Oh my goodness.
That day, that evening, and Walt Leger, who was one of the owners of the team,
right?
Was walking around with one of those handheld microphones, telling people
That's hilarious.
telling people
That's hilarious.
the scoreboard didn't work.
That's
So they unless they were keeping score, they didn't know what inning it was. They didn't know what the score was. They didn't know how many hits we had.
The good old days.
The good old days. So we went through that, and then the next day, Monday morning, they sent out a professional electrician to look at it, and they told us it was going to be there was a spike that happened in between the stadium and the physical plant.
Why it went out?
Yeah, and it was going to be $50,000 to repair it. And about an hour later, we hear one of the UNO engineers go, found it. And so it was a blown switch.
That's all it was.
It was a blown fuse
That's
underneath the third base stands. He changed it out, everything came back up.
So let me get real quick because I don't want to lose this.
Yes.
Between the Final Four, National Championship, and obviously the Super Bowl, we've had 2 of those already. The Final Four just happened. Obviously, National Championship you brought in with LSU won in 2020. And then obviously the Super Bowl is coming up in 2 or 3 years, right? So out of those, what is the toughest for you as the head of the the Greater Sports Foundation to get here in New Orleans?
Well, they're all difficult. They all have their own ins and outs, and what you are allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. What you're allowed to do for and allow how to raise money or allowed to promote through the NBA All-Star Game is different than what you're allowed to do through the College Football Championship game or Final Four. Super Bowl, actually, the NFL allows you a little more freedom than the NCAA does to recognize local sponsors as being non-conflicting, but local sponsors, and to help you raise money to help offset the costs of what you promised in the bid.
Well, speaking of Super Bowl, let me go there because I grew up I went to like 4 or 5 before I was even 15. I mean, I was a kid. I remember going as a little kid, Super Bowl, 6 and then 9, and obviously a few years later when they went to the Dome. But like, what would be ideal for you? How many years off before Super Bowl? Because I know we had 10 years. And then, for what would be the perfect gap?
I think the perfect gap would be about 5 or 6 years.
Right. I think that's what most media people think.
Not sure if we would ever get to that point again because the competition is unbelievable.
Right.
And then between new stadiums, some in cold weather markets like New York got Super Bowl because of their new stadium. Some are building new dome stadiums. So now the competition with Los Angeles and Las Vegas, Phoenix.
That's one thing. Remember they were going to Minnesota and Detroit? Even though they had domes, it was still blizzards outside. Nobody wants to go up there.
New stadium Super Bowls.
Right.
And so, that's still a policy. It's not hard and fast, but it's a policy within the NFL that
one of the
if you build a new stadium, then you're likely to get rewarded with a Super Bowl or draft now or something like that. That really has an impact in your community. We'd love to get it back to New Orleans was more in a rotation, but now we hear Nashville is going to build a new dome stadium that is supposed to open in a few years. We just read this morning where Chicago is talking about enclosing their stadium
or going to the suburbs.
The team says they're staying with their suburbs deal, but you never know.
Well, the Final Four is just here, and I've been in basketball circles for a long time. I was an NBA agent and then also covered the Final Four. So I know a lot of people that came in town, and I mean, literally every single one of them was raving about the situation, how great it was this past year. I mean, that event's near and dear to my heart. I've probably been to 25 of the last 30 of them. For that thing, I mean, did y'all consider this a big success, in your mind?
We considered it a huge success, especially given the circumstances leading up to April, this past April. I mean, you remember you're planning these things for a year and a half out.
Yeah.
We bid on it back in 2016 and won it. So, there's years of planning that goes into it, but you really start to turn up the heat a year and a half out and then really turn up the heat after the previous Final Four is held. Now, the previous Final Four, in our case, was the bubble Final Four in Indianapolis. So we didn't even go. I mean, there's nothing to see, nothing to learn.
Absolutely.
Nothing to be involved with. So a year out, we're still under strict COVID restrictions, wondering if people are going to be traveling, if the business decisions that you make, are you going to be able to cover the cost of them?
Right.
The new demands for the Final Four those had risen since we bid on it in 2016. So, you take all this into account, and we're sitting here in January, 3 months out, wondering, is anybody traveling? Is anybody going to travel? Are we going to be able to raise the money to cover all the costs? Can we operationally handle this? Are any volunteers going to want to be involved because of COVID restrictions?
Right.
And things, the weather started to clear up and things started to open up for us, and we gained some momentum. And then a few weeks prior to the Final Four, the city relieved the COVID restrictions, mask and the restrictions for facilities that you had to show a proof of vaccination.
That was big. You're right.
It was huge.
People forget about that.
And then we got a little lucky with the weather and the draw.
Right.
And the NCAA benefited the most from the draw, but we certainly benefited from that also. And especially after been 3 years since the Final Four had actually happened in its full, since 2019, in its full effect.
Right.
Then New Orleans was in the right place at the right time and was the perfect city to be hosting.
It was perfect.
And it was just. It was just amazing. It was such a great feeling to be downtown.
Yeah, an epic game in the Final Four, Duke, North Carolina, and a great comeback, the biggest of all time in the finals. So sometimes luck does play a part in people's memory of a great event.
It does. It does. You have to have all the base. You have to have a group like ours working on this, and our partners with the University of New Orleans and Tulane University, and of course the Superdome and the Convention Center, State of Louisiana.
So when are we going to get another one? When's the next one?
We hope to be working on that soon, but we don't know. It's been every 10 years, like you talked about for Super Bowl.
No doubt.
We have a Super Bowl in 25. The last one we hosted was 2013. That's 12 years. That's too long.
It is too long.
The Final Four was in 93. Men's Final Four was 93.
I can tell you all of them, man. I can go 82, 87, 93. I've been to every one of them here, right?
But 10 years from 93 to 2003, and then 2003 to 2012.
Yep.
And then
Kentucky
12 to 22.
Right.
So if you look at it like that, it would probably be 2032 or beyond.
That seems so far away.
It is.
But it'll come before you know it. Hey, real quick, I'd be remiss because obviously you had a big event coming. I've been one of the guys that interviews people on the red carpet at the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame with a dear friend that had passed away since then, Carly McCord. But you just got inducted. I mean, that's a huge deal. I mean, that event is so well run and fun. But you got inducted. What was when you got the call? Like, I don't know if it's Ronnie Rance that makes the call. Whoever makes that call, what was your first thought when they said, "Hey, you're in"?
Well, Lenny Van Gilder called me. Lenny called me and he says, "Jay, we want to talk to you about the Sports Hall of Fame." And Doug Ireland.
He thought he was asking to volunteer?
Doug Ireland. No, I thought they were talking about my father going into the sport, being inducted.
Legendary coach.
Legendary coach. That's
right.
And so I said, sure. I said, I got a call with the NCAA in 3 minutes. I said, so let's make it quick. So Doug comes on and said, we want to award you the Dave Dixon Award.
Huge.
Anything
Steve
in the name
got it the year I was doing it. Yeah.
Anything named after Dave Dixon is huge. He was a tremendous man.
Pioneer.
A pioneer. I can imagine the thought process of thinking up the Superdome.
Well, the reason we have not only Superdome, but Super Bowl's first coming here, the Saints coming here.
The naming of the Saints.
That's huge.
Convincing the powers that be, the elected officials to do this, to spend $163 million. Wouldn't that be great? To build a brand new stadium way back then.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. But that was to receive an award in his name was a huge honor, and like you said, the city of Natchitoches, they really embrace the whole event, the Hall of Fame.
It's amazing.
It really is. It was high expectations for me, and they excelled way above that.
We have a tradition where we sign the balls, and since COVID started, I've been putting the post-COVID shows in blue because we were off for 2 years. But I'm going to get you to sign a Saints ball. That seems most appropriate. But we also have gifts, and while we do this, I'm going to give you a couple things. But tell us, like, the most memorable event since you've been doing this for 25 years. First of all, Task. I don't know if you know Task Performance. It's one thing.
I have several of their shirts.
And then this is a gift certificate to a restaurant called Chez de la Chaise. But hope you enjoy that. But as you sign, what's your biggest memory for an event? Like the first thing that comes to your mind?
Oh gosh, there are several. But first one comes to mind was the first big one, the Olympic track and field trials.
That's huge.
And not just the renovation of Tad Gormley Stadium involved, but the 10 days of doing an event that nobody thought would ever come to New Orleans. and the storylines, but the legacy left behind by the renovation of that stadium was something we were all very proud of.
High school football forever.
Yeah,
and so much
forever.
more, right.
And you know, all the way to the Super Bowl where the lights went out. You know, there's not a great memory.
That was not.
That was an oh heck moment.
Out of your control, though.
Yeah, out of our control, but to get it back was really
That's
something
the Super Bowl
special.
it was, right?
Yes,
Right there.
Exactly.
All right, thank you, buddy.
Okay.
I appreciate you so much, man.
All right.
Keep doing the great work.
I appreciate it. It takes a lot of people to do it.
I know. And I don't want to be remiss to say that, but you have a whole crew behind you.
We do.
Right.
We do.
Right.
Not only a whole staff, but a board of directors that is very involved, that has helped us guide through many landmines over the last 34 years now.
Keep up the great work, man.
Thank you.
That's Jay Cicero. I want to thank everybody today. Of course, my guests, all the Saints talk we have with Brooke Kirchhofer, and of course, the Cajun Cannon, Bobby Hebert. Hey, next week we're going to continue rolling, get some Saints players in here, get some coaches. We'll be back next week right here on Primetime Sports.